Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday trading room. Bear with me here a moment. Get the screen share going on. All right, so here we are following the NASDAQ on this particular monitor. I've also got crude oil and the euro going on my other monitor. Oh no, I forgot I swapped out crude oil for gold. So also watching gold here this morning. Crude oil rather subdued lately, shall we say. Speaking of subdued, the market yesterday, again, look at just a very, very tiny session. These are the daybreak lines. And this happens from time to time that the market starts to get really, really quiet. Volume is very low as well, so we're lacking volume, we're lacking volatility. Not the best time to trade, really. Sometimes you'll see this better on a daily chart. Just a second, I'm going to print that off for you. Build a daily chart. Okay, so here we go. Here's a daily NASDAQ chart. And just look at these volume numbers. Tiny little bars. Those are a dead giveaway also that there's a lack of volume. And I think everybody and their brother sees this tight little wedge that's forming. Now, how you choose to draw it, I think different traders are going to draw it differently, but here we are at this apex. Wedges like this tend to break to the short side. And I think a lot of people are waiting for that, which is probably why the volume has been so light. And yet, every day, the NASDAQ trading higher, or almost every day. There's the odd bearish session through here, but you can see, like I said, no volume, no volatility. The last really big bar we had was back here. That was October 5th, so a week, 2 weeks ago. And I believe most of that occurred at the end of the session as the market broke out above these highs. So I guess what I'm saying is we've got to be really, really careful. In fact, if you're trading real money, you may choose to go into sim. I think you definitely need to limit the number of trades you take. And I think you definitely need to hold out for those higher probability signals. here the hawk already turning bearish, the Falcon swing trader also bearish. The eagle into the hard edge, so it's actually still bullish, and the raptor now producing a couple of counter trend signals. And also looking slightly on the bearish side. But I just can't get over the tiny little ranges that we're seeing. Let's see if we get a little bit of a reaction here to the hard edge. That's what we anticipate when the market encounters the hard edge of the trading band. Right now, things definitely looking a little bit more bearish, though. So let's see if we get another sell signal. And I might give it a go just to see if we catch some early momentum. All right, there's a little reaction. Haven't really gone too far with it just yet. I think I'm going to favor the short side a little bit here today. We've got, well, it's not quite a double top, but you saw that daily chart. It just, I don't know, it makes me nervous trying to buy off of the apex of that wedge, that very, very tight little wedge formation that we saw. We're still kind of hovering here. Haven't moved all that far. It would be nice to get a number 3 signal and then get another number 2 signal, but I don't know. Everything is moving so slowly. It's not only is it slow motion, but we're not getting a lot of direction either. All right, it looks like they're going to try to make a little bit of a move lower. It's a very, very sloppy 4-arrow consolidation that we have going on right here. You could deem it as such if you were looking to get in. I would probably not enter until we got below that little swing low, however. Even though the signal's going to print right here, I would probably reserve my entry to there. Risk at least to the crest in the macro line. It's not the best looking trade, but I'm wondering if they take out the low of the morning, if there isn't going to be some follow through from that. And I think I would try to, well, here I've got time. I think I would try to run that out. Like I say, it's a very, very sloppy 4-arrow consolidation. definitely has a sideways drift to it. If it breaks lower here, I think a move back to yesterday's low is not unreasonable. A retest of the low, that would put us at around 60.98. 6,100 seems like a nice target. Well, a little bit more volume on that bar, 7,600 and 7,800 on this bar. Current bar only has about 500 contracts going through it. Where was the opening bar? Had about 5,000 contracts, still very, very light. Volume about half of what it normally is. And we're 4-arrow consolidation, getting a little tighter, a little more formal. 1, 2, 3, this now the fourth signal that's forming. This is a little bit of a tighter pattern than what I was looking at earlier. We've also got a macro pullback signal now here in the hawk, so a couple of slightly bearish signals. Floyd says, look at the data on a 15 or 30-second chart. Hold on a second here, Floyd. We'll build one of those. So here now a 30-second NASDAQ chart. And you can see the volume here, just how light it really is. And how sideways. Normally the 30-second charts, the market's bouncing all over the place. This is more like the 5-minute chart used to be. Or even a 15-minute chart. Oh yeah, right. Floyd says add the ADX. I forgot you like using that. 1 second here. I actually saved that. If I remember right, Floyd likes watching the volume moving average. That would be this one here. And you can see volume very, very light. And this is the ADX line, average directional index. Traditionally, if it's below 20 or 25, there's no trend. And you can see since the market opened, pretty much, there is no trend. This indicator does not show direction, rather it just shows strength of trend. So handy for keeping you out of sideways choppy markets. You can see here the indicator was building. It got above this 20 zone. So that would tell you that there's actually a trend developing. Doesn't tell you the direction, but you can guess from the market moving lower as the ADX was building that the trend should be down. And it did, headed a little bit lower, started drifting sideways, And now there's no trend again. So very handy little tool, and thanks Floyd for actually sharing that. And that would be on a fast chart, on a 30-second chart. Helps keep you out of those markets that are wandering. So it's just an ADX. I used the standard period. I'm assuming, Floyd, you used the same. Volume moving average, again with the default. It's not going to alter it all that much. And I think with the volume moving average, I seem to remember, Floyd, you said you'd like to see it above 400. But there's actually a little bit of volume in the market. Although you can see this overnight move came on relatively light volume, which is going to happen in the overnight. I'll dial back here to yesterday's session. This is the problem with the 30-second chart. Lots of data. Okay, so here we are during yesterday's trading. Out of the open, got, I guess, a little bit of a rally. You can see the ADX declining, suggesting the trend is getting a little bit weaker. So you could surmise, because the market was moving up, there's a little bit of an uptrend, but you could see it weakening. And then here we had a little bit of a trend develop. After all this, I would have assumed it was going to be a downtrend, but it also fell off rather quickly. Got moving sideways. I see. Floyd says on crude oil he likes to see it above 400 on the volume, on the NASDAQ above 200. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, and then it's just Snoozeville. And that's kind of where we're at right now. So there's a handy little indicator, courtesy of Floyd. Stephen says we had 2 years of great trading, but the last month or so the market has been crap. Yes, it has been. Yeah, and Steve, you're right. Stephen says it's not even fun to trade at the moment. I don't ever remember the market being this quiet for this long. There would be periods where the market gets subdued, and sometimes I would even end up changing my Eagle chart from 12 ticks to 10, just because the daybreak lines were starting to get crowded like this. But I have to admit, this is very, very odd. Now we're into yellow bars, so I'm going to cancel my order. The market's taking too long to do something anyhow. I actually suggested to Adam that we put the room on hiatus for a week just to watch the market a little bit, get some volatility back. But it's like this across the board. I've looked at all kinds of different markets, and they're all really, really quiet. I know, Floyd, you're going to write, check the mid cap. The mid-cap and the Russell, but even those aren't moving a whole lot. Here, we'll put the Russell up here first. Yeah, Scott. No, I don't think it's your fault. Scott says, sorry, it's my fault. I bought the Raptor. I know you guys are only jesting, but you know what? You gotta... Oh, maybe we'll watch the Russell a little bit here. It actually had a little bit of an uptick. As far as the daybreak goes, the lines, you can see the activity about the same, also very sideways. The Russell is a great little market. I really like the Russell. A lot of traders consider it to be a purer market than the S&P. I don't know, we may have to go to that. And the mid-cap is also a great market. The thing I like about the mid-cap, that's the S&P 400, by the way, if you don't recognize some of these terms. The mid-cap, the symbol is EMD, and it's the S&P 400. Once again, you can see just the total lack of volume. But it is a great trending market. I find that the mid-cap, when it picks a direction, it tends to have some follow-through to it. Or at least enough that we can profit, hit our high probability profit objective. So this was yesterday, about a half hour, almost half hour in. We got a buy signal and there was some follow through. Day before, the top of the hour, we had a buy signal, some follow through, counter trend signal late in the afternoon and some follow through there. Day before that, a little bit dull. Had a signal here again. Oh no, this one developed shortly after the open. A little bit of a move lower. I'm surprised that didn't print as a number 2. I guess it was a little bit late from the test of the low, but that was a number 2 signal. And then late morning got a number 1 signal and the market just kind of hit the sideways drift until recovering a little bit in the overnight. So not much going on there either. I tend to follow the NASDAQ because it usually has a decent amount of volatility to it, which means that there's actually some moves going on, but not lately. Scott says, I watched the Russell when it was the TF all last year, and since it's moved from the TF to the RTY, the volume is still not back. A year ago, the overnights, the TF would have had 8 to 10 point moves. Now it's like 3 to 5 point moves. I think it's also you know, like I said, the nature of the market right now, where we're just not getting any kind of follow through. I honestly don't know what traders are waiting on. But the volume just is not there. Lots of sitting and waiting. We got a green bar sell now here in the hawk. These tend to develop near the end of a trend. I suppose you could call this a trend. It's the last ditch effort on the part of the sellers to recover the market and move it lower. But I don't know. Well, it's there if you wanted to try shorting it. I don't think I'd go in too heavy, but you could do a single. We got nothing going on here, so I'm going to demo it. And I don't think I want to take two contracts. We'll just tough it out on a single. There we go. I think the safer play is still look for a signal on a break below the low here around 6109. But like I say, we've got nothing going on here, so we might as well demonstrate a signal. The green bar sell on the hawk, it's conflicting a little bit with what we're seeing here on the eagle bullish. The raptor, technically, this is a hard edge bounce. It's not going to print a hard edge bounce signal because your cloud is slightly out of sync. The number 3 signal is a continuation signal. So remember, you need two parts to a continuation signal. First, you need a trend to continue. Can't have a continuation if you don't have a trend. Floyd writes, the institutions randomize their trades, so sometimes we get moves at the open, other times it will be 7 or 8 Pacific, sometimes it gets done in the last hour. We have to be patient and just wait for them to do their thing. Good advice and very true. I read recently that the HFT traders are getting clobbered because of the lack of volume. We're actually on par with the high frequency trading firms. They don't really have an edge when there's no volume. It messes up all their programming. All right, so that green bar sell signal has evaporated, so we'll cancel that. And now we're back in wait mode. I'm still here. I'm just going to mute the mic. If anything interesting happens, I will certainly mention it. Otherwise, if you have any questions, please, please ask. Otherwise, we're just going to sit here and watch, check emails, read a book. If you wanted to consider this your number 3 signal and a test of the uptrend, you may also consider the next sell signal a number 2 signal. Now I know we're kind of stretching things here a little bit, but the format is the same, the structure is the same. Even though we're not going to get number 3 signals printing, we're not going to get number 2 signals printing. But we'll see if we get a sell signal, and if I'm paying attention, we might try to short it. Okay, so we're heading a little bit lower. Haven't printed a red warning dot yet, but that's what I'm on the lookout for. If you're bullish and the market is in an uptrend, here is your first in-sync eagle signal today, a second push entry viable above the high. Now we've got a red bar buy in the hawk. This is another signal that could be sold. So the red bar buy developing at the end of an uptrend, you can take it with trend, or you can short the counter trend, namely the failure. It's still pretty ambitious. I would much prefer, I think, to short the low. I think that might be safer. But there it is all the same. No signal on the Raptor just yet. All right, I'll put that signal on. Like I said, you're probably going to be better off waiting for a break of the low or some sort of signal here, counter trend signal on the Raptor. The Hawk and the Raptor likely to be the early birds. Oh dear, too funny. All right, so we've filled the Hawk order. I'm going to get my break even out of the way here. And what did I say, 6,100? Seemed like a nice target, so let's set a profit target down here. And I won't be greedy. There we go. Here on the Raptor, we've also got the sell signal. Like I said, this is technically a number 2 signal after a number 3 signal. These tend to work out a little bit better. And what, oh, look at that slippage. Sorry, they're doing some construction in our area here, and I just had to mute the microphone there for a moment. Okay, so let's see what the sellers can do now. If anything. So like I said, there's that number 2 signal. Through here, if the market does head lower, we're also going to get a trend change signal. You could use the first support zone as a profit objective. I'm probably asking too much out of the market to move two full zones. I'm thinking it may retrace to yesterday's lows. So that's what I'm shooting for. The hawk now producing a first micro macro cross lower, so that's encouraging. So what we're looking at now is just a reaction to the breakout. If the sellers are serious about shorting the market, well, they're going to have to start pressing the market lower here soon. Still very, very slow, however. Yeah, Floyd says crude oil's on the move. Here we go with the NASDAQ now. The sellers attempting to recommit. Come on. Just when it was starting to look like the market was going to head lower, we get this secondary reaction. And, well, that could be significant. If they're going to hold off this support zone right here, we could actually get a little bit of a bounce. So if you did decide to take this short, and you got in early, now might be the time to get the trade to break even. Certainly if it trades back above 61.12, we're probably going to see a little bit of a rally. But I am in sim, so I'm going to try to head it a little bit lower. But again, given the nature of the market today, if you're trading with real money, and especially if you got in early here, break even is not a bad way to go. Hey, way to go, Floyd. Floyd bagging $500 on 2 crude oil contracts. Nicely done. Scott asking, hey, Eric, can you run through the turning on the break even again? Sure, Scott. What you need to do is you go to your strategies, because it is part of the trade manager. If your trade manager is already on, you're going to need to go here where it says enabled and turn it off. So go to false and apply. That's going to make your trade manager disappear. Please do not do this while you are in a trade. It will not void your trade. It will only make it disappear off your chart. And then you'll have to manage the trade manually. If you roll to the top, you're going to see the second category are the auto break-even parameters. First, you need to enable it. So yours, if you don't have it turned on, probably says false. You'll want to go to true, and then you set your trigger price. Personally, I think anything that's about 75 to 80% of your target qualifies as a break-even trigger. You may choose to do it earlier, you may choose to do it later. With the Falcon, I have a 20-tick target, so the 15-tick default works just fine. The break-even offset is how much money you want to protect when you hit the break-even trigger. By default, it's set at 1 tick. Essentially, you're going to earn enough to pay your commissions at 1 tick. But you can set it to whatever value you like. I know one trader sets it at 5 ticks. A lot of people don't know this, but you can actually set it at a negative tick value as well. So let's say you didn't want to bring the trade right up to break even, but rather you want it to be, say, 2 ticks back. You're prepared to offer up 2 ticks just in order to be able to stay at the trade. You may do that, especially if you feel that your break-even trigger might be a little bit tight, but that, to me, that kind of defeats the purpose. 1 tick, like I say, you pay your commissions, so at least you're not out of pocket too much money. When you've made all your changes and you have your trade manager set up the way you like, I suggest that you save the template. So click here on save, just type in anything, type in any name you want to get it. You can call it, I called mine Falcon. But whatever name you assign to it, just type in a name, press enter, and then it's going to save it. And what that's going to do is, if you load a fresh chart, you'll actually have the template already there for you to select from. It makes a big time saver. Once all the changes are made, remember to turn your trade manager back on. Click apply. And now you have your auto break-even setup. All right, so we got a little bit of a break here above the 6112 area. We're probably going to see the market rally a little bit. Let's see, there's going to be a little bit of a trend line forming like so. Oh, we might get a reaction here that could send the market lower. But like I say, not a good day for trading. The market's just really quiet, really subdued. And I think we're actually going to button up shop here a little bit early today. There's nothing really going on. You may want to check back toward the close. The market may do something then, but right now, not a whole heck of a lot. All right, gang, be careful. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.